Socialists often argue that socialist countries fail because the United States always sabotages them, whether it be through coups, an embargo, or sanctions. Looking at the big examples like Cuba and Venezuela, where the United States actually did implement embargo and sanctions, that's not why they failed. But let's talk about the other countries that did not get embargoes, sanctions, or coups. This is Julius Nyerere. He became the first president of Tanzania, which was formerly two countries, Zanzibar and Tanganyika. Nyerere learned about Marxism when he was at university in Scotland. When he returned to Africa, he brought the Marxism with him. As the first president of the post-colonial Tanzania, he implemented socialist policies. He began nationalizing all of the industry and the agriculture. He also turned the country into a dictatorship, jailing thousands of his detractors, at one point having more prisoners than South Africa did. As a result of their socialist policies, the economist Thomas Sowell writes, Tanzania's output per worker declined over a period of a decade, and the country went from being an exporter of maize to being an importer. Hundreds of nationalized firms went bankrupt. The entire country was stuck in economic decline for years, and this is despite support from the United States and other Western countries. Sowell writes, all this occurred in a country that received more foreign aid per capita than any other. The United States and other countries didn't try to sabotage Tanzania. Instead, they supported it, and the socialist policies still failed. The economy failed so badly that the once super popular Julius Nyerere had to leave the presidency in shame, and the government that followed him began to liberalize. The economy didn't recover until after the liberalization, which once again proves that it's the socialist policies that are causing these problems. Let's talk about one more great example. This is Siad Barre. He was the dictator of Somalia. He became a socialist through knowing Soviet soldiers. The economist Peter T. Leeson published an excellent paper showing the economic history of Somalia. In the 1970s, he pursued full-scale central planning under the government's policy of scientific socialism. In 1975, all land was nationalized along with nearly all major industries and the financial sector, and they had the same inefficiencies as the Soviet Union. It also, of course, was a dictatorship that suppressed free speech and even committed a genocide. And guess what? The United States did not come in and overthrow Siad Barre. They did not put in embargoes and sanctions. His government ended up collapsing. By the mid-1980s, 100% of Somalia's development budget and 50% of its recurrent budget was funded by foreign aid. After the collapse of the socialist state in the early 2000s, Somalia really didn't even have a state for a few years. But despite all of the chaos that came from that, the Somali people still did better than they did under socialism. That's how bad the socialist policies were. Without any of these institutions there to support them, they still did better.